The Senate, sitting as court of impeachment, is adjourned until Tuesday, January 21st at 1 p.m.
So the trial will begin in earnest on Tuesday afternoon, and we anticipate it being occupied by arguments. Essentially, right off the bat, we will have John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the United States, returning to the Senate chamber, and we anticipate that at least preliminary matters will begin right away.
Thank you very much. So help you God. The clerk will call the names in groups of 4, and senators will present themselves.
It is hard to predict at this point what sort of motions might be presented by the Senate, which is functioning in a very peculiar way as both the jury and as the rulemakers in some sense of this trial. But we could have interruptions early on, different motions. The question becomes whether the Senate has enough, the Republicans in the Senate have enough votes to do things that they want to do. So, for instance, it would require 51 votes to not call witnesses and to move the trial straight toward a verdict, or 51 votes to dismiss the case. That seems unlikely. We do not believe that the Senate has enough votes to proceed without hearing witnesses or to dismiss the case. So that gives us a fair amount of confidence that we can expect an actual trial. What is unknown is, how many days that will last for.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
How you feeling today, sir?
All right, this is space. Come on.
House Democrats did release last week additional documents that link Rudy Giuliani and a close business associate to this plan to get Ukraine to investigate a political rival. If you're a Democrat, you see that as an example of why the trial needs to hear from witnesses. Republicans, however, have not been swayed, and I think they appear agitated by the fact that these are materials and testimony that did not come in before the House impeachment inquiry. And so they view it as new material, and they say it's not our job to consider new material that the House didn't consider for the impeachment vote. So we're not certain about where that's going to go.
This again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Huh? It's done.
Well, I think there is some common ground. The proposal that we would make would be that we'd have a vote on witnesses.
So the one thing that I think was really striking and important about the Clinton impeachment case is the bipartisan agreement that you had on both sides of Democratic and Republican leaders to actually hold a real legitimate trial. And there's been a lot of talk that they were committed to doing that. We don't have anything approximating that heading into this trial. Both sides are very divided as to what a trial should look like, whether a trial should even take place, and so there's not really much optimism that there's going to be any kind of agreement in the middle going forward. And I think that's a big division point from what we saw in 1998, 1999. I do think when we think about what is certain or uncertain or what is known or not known, I do think that the verdict in this case is essentially a foregone conclusion, and that is simply by virtue of the fact that the Republicans do have the numbers to acquit. It would require a 2/3 majority in the Senate to actually convict, and the Democrats simply don't have that, and even if a couple Republicans move on to the other side,